So I have a very special guest today. I've talked about this on the pod before about getting into Brit Rest, and I feel like you can't get into British wrestling without hearing the name Michael Oku. And so I'm super excited. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, very well. How are you? Thank you for having me, first of
Of
all. But
course.
doing great.
We currently have the RevPro Undisputed British Heavyweight Champion in the house. You don't have the belt right now due to some very unforeseen circumstances. But I think that's a great place to start. So um, I I went and caught up over the weekend of watching Epic Encounter, which was a fantastic show, by the way. And I saw the match with you and Great O'Con, and you finally become the British heavyweight champion, in addition to the first Grand Slam champion in Rev Pro, as well as the first Black British heavyweight champion. So kind of walk me through that whole moment. There was a lot going on. Amir had to jump in, take out Gideon Gray, but like, how special, was that moment and that ovation that you got from that crowd in your call? Like, how did that feel?
That moment was just it just couldn't incomparable to anything that I've felt before. I've had loads of big moments in my career. I've had loads of big matches that we can absolutely discuss. But to be it's such a crowning achievement in terms of the culmination of all of those moments that I've had in my career so far to then end up being in the main event of that big Rev Pro show on the lead up to what will be the biggest show that they've ever done. And it's like, okay, I'm the guy. And more importantly than it's just like, oh, you're being bestowed this honor. This is what the fans want, and you can hear that by the fan reaction of the tap out. They are jumping up for joy, men, women, children screaming, hugging, crying. That's what makes it special. The fact that it's special to everyone else, and this is a moment they were clamoring for. So for it to happen and for it to get in, there's so many accolades that like records broken with that. Me being the first Black British heavyweight champion, doing the Grand Slam, which everyone, so many people have come through the doors of Red Pro, and I'm the only one that's done that. That makes it even much more of a grander thing.
Yeah, and I think that Rev Pro you talked about, the lineage for that title is absolutely insane, of just the names who have held it. It's really a who's who in professional wrestling. You have AJ Styles, Tanahashi, Will Ospreay, Shibata, just so many like insane names, and the fact that you've held it too, and you did it younger than most of them. That's a huge accomplishment. And I was actually at Live in London 71. That was the build up, that was in the lead up to Revolution Rumble. And just like the fans' excitement leading into Revolution Rumble, it was very clear that you were the one that everybody wanted to win. And then watching Revolution Rumble and just seeing how everybody just loses it when you finally win, like, what's that connection to the crowd like? Just because, like when professional wrestling is like one of those businesses, when people get behind you, they really get behind you. And you've had an incredible year, and we'll get to more of those moments later. But how was it when just winning the Rumble?
Yeah, I mean that too. Again, just it's all about the fact that people were happy that it happened. You talk about professional wrestling, people getting behind you. I think especially in modern wrestling, if we talk in the last, let's just say 20 years, we've seen how nearly easy it is for them to not get behind you if they
Yeah,
don't want there's examples as of last night that I saw where it's like, no, we don't like this person, and
definitely.
and that and that's what it is. And there was a worry in my head of like, I've been in Rev Pro for so long. I've held titles for a long time. I've held nearly every title. And then here's this Rumble, which is a first time concept to happen at York Hall. And then with me wearing it, my head, I'm like, oh man, is there a fear of, is he being shoved down our throats? And that's kind of plays in your mind. Am I going to be this? Am I going to be Roman Reigns? Am I going to be John Cena where they reject me and stuff like
And
that?
it's real. That's
And
a real thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, thank goodness we live in a democracy, and the majority of people, the more than the majority of people, were just again so happy that I and elated that I won the Rumble, and again they know what it could mean, what it could lead to in that heavyweight title match. But yeah, that moment and that Rumble itself is something I really recommend people to watch. Like it's stacked with so many stories, so many moments throughout. Nearly every single person that comes in, there's something that happens. So I would recommend that as not just the show, but as a match on its own for people to see.
I have to agree. I think that was my favorite Rumble of the year. That was my favorite Battle Royal of the year. Of just that was my first time like watching. I didn't realize that was the first Revolution Rumble until you just said it. I would have never been able to tell just because it was just so good. It was so entertaining. Like it was like an hour long, kept me captivated the entire way. Like you had your comedy bits, and then you had like your serious wrestling, and then it was just. I think it was just really it was a payoff. Like you can tell that fans had been waiting for this moment, particular moment. I think for you for a very long time, and so once they finally got it, everybody just kind of lost it, which is always fun to see. But that's not the only big moment that you've had this year. Your year started off hot. I would say starting from Bola. This year, Battle of Los Angeles. I recently finally got the DVDs because PWG doesn't stream. So, which is fine. I got the DVDs, so I got to finally watch the entire thing. And it looks like you've built up quite a big audience over here stateside as well. And so, what does that mean to you? And two, like what do you think that means for like your future of just, branching out and continuing to, just show the world who Michael Oku is?
I mean, it's super exciting. It's super exciting. Just the challenge as a performer to go to new audiences, to go to new markets, and then show what I can do is a real like it's a challenge, and that's what I like as a wrestler. I like those challenges. But it surprises me as well though, like how much people take to me. Maybe I should have confidence in myself and be like, I know I'm gonna, I know you just wait until you see me. Maybe I should do that. But there's again, like I say, it's doubt, in my head. And I remember when I was on my way to Bolo to LA, and I'm on the flight, or just before I'm boarding the flight, and I'm just like, got that real strong feeling of like imposter syndrome. Like this is the arguably the biggest thing in independent wrestling that an independent wrestler can do, and am one of the selected that is going to be part of it, let alone the only wrestler from all of Europe to be in the tournament. And then I'm wrestling Takeshita in round one, who is the hottest wrestler probably at that moment in time, and everybody loves. So the pressure is on, the pressure is on. And so for me to deliver, which is the most I can say. I was happy with my performance and I delivered, and people became fans of me. And that's the thing I noticed. Nearly every time I go to America, I'm wrestling in front of people who have never seen me before. And man, that country, it's so big. It's so big. So because I've already been to Dallas, I've been to New York, I've been to New Jersey, and it just sounds. Not only does everywhere look different, but it just sounds different. The crowds sound different, and you can tell that. All right, so I might have been to America, but I only went to here. I only went to the Midwest, or I only went to the South. So I have to now get over in the West Coast, and it's been an amazing little journey to do that. And again, like I feel that more I do that, and the more places in America that get to know who I am, that will probably lend well to where I end up in the future.
No, definitely. It's so funny. You've done the Grand Prix. I think that's a huge diverse pot of cities because Dallas and New York and LA are completely different. I personally haven't even done like the full West Coast yet. So it's a lot. It's very overwhelming, but like the crowd took to you, and like they also took to you on WrestleMania weekend, which is insane. Like I think that's almost probably more impressive than Bola just because everybody is in town, and but everybody is hearing about this guy from the UK, and that is who they came to see. Like I remember, like I was watching. I forgot which show that was, but I was watching one of the shows, streaming it, and I was like, no way this reaction is that big. Like, this is insane. Like, this is insane. I think it's also even more impressive. I mean, you are a Black talent, and to get those type of reactions as a Black talent, I think we've seen more and more of it this year, not just for you, but just about for everybody. But I think there used to be like a limit for how, being good for a Black wrestler. But I think that we're starting to see the playing field even out, and that qualifier is being taken off, and everybody's just good, period. And so how does that feel through that lens, of like being Black and still being the most popular, just the most popular thing since sliced bread, especially in RevPro, and then coming to the US and being well received?
I mean, amen to that, first of all. Jesus, like it's such a, I don't want to say it's 100% what I was fighting for, because so when I got into wrestling, I remembered, like, people who inspired me. They were of all different races, but there was a little weird connection. I say weird connection. There is definitely a different connection with the Black wrestlers I grew up watching. There was like The Rock was as a kid from London. That's a Black man, and he's the top of the industry. He is Black, and that's all I know. Booker T, D'Lo Brown, all these wrestlers. Like, there's just a connection with them, and there's a hope that I wanted as a fan for them to do well. Shelton Benjamin, and so when I became a wrestler, I was like, I want to be as impressed. I want to be as impressive as I was looking as a fan, impressed by those wrestlers. So I want to inspire other Black kids that same way. That was a thought that I want. What I didn't even anticipate, it's not like I was like narrow focused and wasn't paying attention, but I was like, no, wait a minute. I should just want every kid of every race to be a fan of me. And that's what started to happen. And every adult of every race to be a fan of me. I am as proud of a young Black kid who's front row as the bald white dad who is shaking my hand being like, you're a proper wrestler. That's, I have equal amounts of pride that they're like, oh, what, me? You're a big fan of me? I love that so much. And the fact that it's happening worldwide, and the fact that you think about successful Black British wrestlers, and that list isn't the largest. So to see that, like, that I'm glad that I'm happy that I'm breaking through to see a kid like Leon Slater, who is going to take over the world.
Absolutely.
But he's going to overtake me. I'm pulling it now, and that's fine. I just have to live with it. That's awesome. But that's happening. There's a kid in RevPro called Cameron Kai, who I think he just turned 18. He might be 17, and it's disgusting how talented he is. But that's seeing that, like there's wrestlers now who are Black and are just seen as, this is the most talented person here. This person is the person with the most potential. Not like, oh, out of the Black wrestlers, these are the good Black people. No, we are just the top, full stop. And that's something I take the most pride in, that like the wrestler that people talk about in the UK and in Europe is me, and I'm doing it whilst being Black. I love it.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I was in London for spring break, had never been to England before. And when I came to the RevPro show, I was shocked by the amount of Black people on the card. I think like there's always these preconceived notions of like what British wrestling is. And like you were saying, I think that obviously the UK wrestling scene was almost torn down and completely built back up. And not only has it been built back up to be safer, and rightfully so, but I think it's also been built back up to be a lot more diverse. And I think that point hasn't been talked about enough, because like you see a Cameron Kai, like you see a Leon Slater, like even look at Epic Encounter, both the semi-main event and the main event both featured phenomenal, excellent Black wrestlers who stole the show. Like, and I think like that's absolutely insane. Like, these things are all happening like right now at the same time. Like the same week that you won the undisputed British heavyweight championship, we had Alex Kane won the MLW World Championship. There was obviously Impact, Kenny King winning digital media, Leo Rush winning X Division, Trinity winning Knockouts, over in AEW, Willow winning Owen Hart as well as Ricky Starks. I don't think I've ever seen that many Black people in wrestling win ever in that short amount of time. Big stuff. Like, this is unprecedented.
Exactly. And that's, we know what wrestling is. And so I think there's part of that being a frustration when it's like, wait, so when you can control how things go, you're trying to say that the best people aren't Black? That was kind of a weird thing. But in loads of, especially in America, but in nearly every sport where you can't control it, Black people are it's just taken over. It's unfair. So saying that, what's wild is that does all happen in the space of like a weekend, it felt like. And it wasn't just some kind of like thing where every promotion and company decides to huddle up and be like, okay, listen, we've got some heat from the Black people. We need to just put them over. It wasn't that. It was just, hey, who's the best person for this job? Who's the best role right now for this? And it all just happened together. I think like the week right after Leon won the North Wrestling title in front of a record crowd for that promotion in Newcastle, in front of 800 people. So it was just all based on, here are the people who are right for this role at this moment in time. And guess what? It's a whole lot of melanin.
Whole lot of melanin. And I think it's, I don't want to say, what is it? Like, it's not comforting, but it's very affirming just because everybody's so good that you can't possibly write it off as, oh, this is just a diversity thing. Like, nah, like everybody is fantastic. I think we're living in an era where I can genuinely say that, no, like when you talk about the best wrestlers in the world, some of them are Black, and put some respect on their name. Like, just because like they're doing it. And I think a lot of times, like, Black wrestlers are coming from behind when they start and still managing to pull this off, I think, which is even more incredible. And it's happening worldwide. Like, we're seeing it pop off. Like, we're seeing Black wrestlers kill it over in Japan. Like, we're seeing Black wrestlers kill it in the UK. We're seeing it happen in America. Like, so it's really cool that to just be living in this time. And like, I think you spoke a little bit about this, but when you were a kid, did you think, or watching wrestling, or whenever you started, did you ever like fathom an environment or an era where any of this would be possible?
I didn't really know. Well, yeah, when you grow up and you're watching wrestling, it would feel like there's like a sprinkle of Black wrestlers, maybe sometimes just one at a time. They're sure as hell they weren't pushing multiple Black wrestlers at a time. So like, oh, this is the Black wrestler's turn. This wrestler's turn is kind of how it is. And then once they, once whoever's in charge of it has had enough of them, it'll be the next person. And then at the same time, there'll be people you're looking at them. I'm a kid and I'm looking, I'm like, for example, I was like, I think still to this day, Monty Brown is the coolest wrestler alive. Like, he just, you just look at him and I just look back at other stuff and just like, everything he does is just cool. The way he talks, the way he moves, his moves. I do a move in tribute to Monty Brown. It's like a pounce knee because I'm little. I can't just push someone's entire body. But I'll do a knee doing off that misdirection thing as a tribute to Monty because like he's the coolest wrestler ever. And I remember thinking, even though I'm young, I'm like, hello, this guy over here. So that's happening. That used to happen a lot for me when watching wrestling, especially with Black wrestlers. Like, this guy am I just what? Is it me having a prejudice saying, hey, Black guys, or am I just not seeing this guy's talent? So again, it's kind of cool to see that, like, right, here's a wrestler that's talented. They just so happen to be Black, and guess what? They're receiving their flowers. So did I see it happening? I was like, I thought it would just be the status quo of like, okay, one at a time, and you just have to hope that it's your favorite one, the one you like most. Yeah. But no, here we are. We're all eating.
I definitely agree. I was talking to another Black wrestler a few weeks ago, and like we were just talking about like if Shelton Benjamin had been in this era, he probably would have been a world champion. Like,
oh my God, easily.
Like, he's my one. Like, you talked about Monty, like he's my one. Like, we're from the same state. Like so Shelton Benjamin is like my one that got away. Like I feel like if he was in this era, and it also kind of makes me wistful too. Like, it's just like it's great to see everybody getting their shine, but we have to think about there were so many people who had to like, pave the way and like, not get that proper shine and not get their proper due for opportunities like this to exist, for just like the current generation. So I feel like it's bittersweet in a way.
Yeah, let's not forget it. There's a parallel for sure, especially in the wrestling setting. Um, there's like if you talk about women's wrestling, this is me seeing it from the outside, obviously.
Mm.
You're seeing obviously things are better than they have ever been. Just comparatively, they're better than they've ever been. But you're especially in WWE, you were seeing there was like an era of, let's just say, the women who were really prioritizing the wrestling and trying to be best wrestlers. They weren't given their flowers, and some of them only now are, even though the revolution has happened, so to speak. Beth Phoenix, that's when she can come back and have nearly another run. And like, hey, everybody, just so you know, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
When Victoria can enter the Rumble, and I remember watching that, and I was like, everybody's taking her stuff because they are fan, and they're like, I want to take your
It's so
sidewalk
good.
slam thing, the Feed the Widows thing. I want to take it because they were fan and they were inspired. And it's like that stuff is just that's probably like amazing for her to just be like, oh man, I did leave an impact. I did leave an impact with Mickey James. If that's even like a segue to the couple books in RevPro, Mickey James is someone who's just been there consistently as a great wrestler and is still going hard and still one of the top talents in the world. So I think I'm hoping that we can do that the same way with a lot of black wrestlers. I see Tugo Scorpio is still out there having dream matches with people. I want that same thing to happen to that generation that, like you said, paved the way for us. Because without them, this doesn't happen. And I'm not here, and I'm not inspired by all these guys and girls as well. So this is like that's what I'm hopeful for.
Tuco Scorpio is a great name. Like I saw he's been teaching seminars lately, and I'm like, out of all the seminars to teach, I think people should go to that one because the fundamentals on that guy are absolutely insane. But you mentioned Copper Box, All In Weekend. It's a huge time, and I don't think it's just huge for like I think it's huge for wrestling in general. We're looking towards what could possibly be the highest paid attendance for any wrestling event, the biggest RevPro show ever, the 11th anniversary of RevPro, just like probably the biggest weekend in UK wrestling in recent memory, maybe ever. I'll ask about the actual card later, but what does it mean to you as a person who, grew up in the UK scene and like a wrestler and now the young face of, UK wrestling? Like, how big is this? Because I feel like stateside, like obviously we have our opinions of like, oh yeah, this is huge, and just like watching AEW come, but like I think people miss like how much bigger this actually is just for an entire community that typically doesn't get almost any of the big shows, doesn't get like, a lot of the recognition. And I feel like I've just seen like so many people in the UK are creating these big opportunities, like between like, RevPro, like Pro Wrestling Eve, other places, creating these opportunities for UK wrestlers to get shine during this weekend. So what is the significance of this moment in time?
The thing that I've been thinking about when it comes to this weekend, specifically the Copper Box show for RevPro, is the transition that the scene went through. So I started in 2017, and in 2000, that was when the British wrestling scene was hot. It was at its hottest. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody had their subscriptions and watching all the time, and everything that was coming from there. All the wrestlers from around the world were coming here, and it was amazing to start within that. And even I had a thought that, like, just business wise, cyclically, that it won't last forever. But I wanted to be a part of that and wrestle all these big names. Uh, Progress, who is kind of who I started with, they were who trained me, their school. They did Wembley Arena, and that was in 2018. So I'd been in wrestling for a year. They did a show. Felt like the biggest show that British wrestling could ever do. and I was on the card in the pre-show battle royal, and I think I was the least experienced person on the entire from like first bell to last to main event, the least experienced person on the show, and I was like, this is the peak right here of British wrestling. Not my career. I was like hoping for more, but for British wrestling, we've reached that peak. This is crazy, and you're seeing the downturn, and of course the pandemic happened, speaking out happened, and we've been in this rebuilding phase. I would argue we're in a rebuilding phase in 2020, 2019. And then we had to rebuild upon that. And I don't think there's any more significant statement or point or victory to have to say that we're doing this couple box show and there's going to be probably, my guess would be 80,000 wrestling fans in town that weekend. And I think the tickets for the RevPro show now, we want to try and sell it out, but I think the tickets sold have already made it the best selling show that RevPro is going to do. So to be at the forefront of that as the champion is absolutely incredible to me. It says so much about the talent we have on this scene that we were able to bring it back, and the fact that RevPro in particular are going to show people, oh yeah, if you watch our wrestling show from beginning to end, we compare to any product in the world.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited. I'll be back in London for both of those shows, so it'll be incredible. But earlier this year, you had a run-in with Chris Jericho at PWG, and he had you on his podcast. I think he's a huge fan of yours, as are a lot of people. So obviously, you can't tell me if you are going to make an appearance, but would I mean, when people talk about UK names that should be involved in All In some ways, your name comes up very frequently. So what would it mean to you if, hypothetically, wink, wink, you were somehow a part of that monumental card?
Well, no one knows what the card is, right? It's the biggest mystery in wrestling for the
Truly.
biggest selling show in wrestling. Um, it's it's nearly an honor the amount of fans that say, well, if they're going to be British wrestlers, which by the way there shouldn't be, but if there are, it should be either Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., or Michael Oku. Those are like the three that I also see it too, and I get added in it. And that's a cool thing. You've got two New Japan wrestlers and then an independent wrestler. I'm the one that comes up the most, which is a very cool thing. Um, if I'm on the show, if I am wrestling in some capacity, or if I'm doing something at Wembley Stadium, there are so many moments. There are so many moments in my career where I said, I can retire. I can retire because I can look at my career and be like, what a great career. It'll be hard to top it, in terms of just sheer size and sheer magnitude. But at the same time, I would honestly look at it not as just like this is a good moment. I like now this is the start of something. If I'm one of the people who is on Wembley Stadium wrestling, competing, whatever, waving, I don't know, then this should be a start to the next step in my career and what could be coming next. Because, like I said, like they don't need British wrestlers on the show, and I understand that people are paying tickets for an AEW show. Absolutely, but at the same time, over 70,000 people have bought tickets and they don't know who's wrestling on it. So maybe they don't mind that much. But yeah, it'd be an absolute like incredible thing. Of course, I want to be on it. Who doesn't want to be on it? I don't know if I'm on it, but we shall see. We shall see. That could change. We will see what happens on that Sunday.
Before I ever went to a RevPro show, I was like, I probably would have been like one of those people who just like, no, we just want to see our AEW show. But now I was like, yeah, Michael Oku on the card or die, guys. Like, come on, man. Like, I think, and also we have to remind ourselves of the original spirit of All In. It was an independent wrestling show bringing people together from all across the world, all different styles of wrestling. Obviously, now there's like, networks and people to please. We get it. But I do think that there's room for, one or two or three, the three that, everybody's been mentioning. I think that that's fine. I think that, there should be enough space. Like you said, we still don't know what the card is. So there's that. But moving back to the Copper Box card, this card is really, really, really stacked. I bought tickets as soon as they came out, but if I hadn't, I think I would have been sad if I didn't, because this is a big show with some really, really, really heavy hitters on there. Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi, you versus Trent Seven, Mickey James is coming. That's so exciting for me. It's insane to see just how much. I mean, just how far I would say just wrestling period, international wrestling has come just in the past, I would say, a couple year or so. Like, we've seen a lot more international shows from just about every company, and this is just a great opportunity for everybody involved. And so, yeah, like, what are you most excited for to come out of this show, aside from finally getting your belt?
Yeah, that'd be cool, right? I think that's objective number one, to physically have the belt that I had. That's like 2 minutes. I think if I look at RevPro as like a team, with me being part of RevPro, and I'm not signed, I'm not contracted to them, but they obviously hold a special place in my heart. What I want is for people to leave that weekend wondering, and this is not even in a like a I don't know, a pitchfork kind of war kind of way. I want people to leave that weekend wondering which show they enjoyed more, RevPro or AEW. That's what I want, and I say that because I believe that it can be comparable with the card that we've got so far. Because let's be clear, we've announced that's 5 matches. Mickey James will obviously be in a 6th match. I think it's public that there will be at least 4 more matches part of that. And I have ideas of who's going to be part of the show. And it's all people who have some form of connection with RevPro in one match. And like in a match, like there's like someone with a connection with RevPro. Like Will versus Shingo, even though people are like, well, that's from a rematch of the New Japan Best Super Juniors final. Will Ospreay is a RevPro guy. He would tell you that, he got his break and to go to New Japan because of his work in RevPro wrestling Okada. Shingo has wrestled a few times. He wrestled me in Revolution Pro Wrestling. So those are 2 wrestlers who wrestle RevPro. It's not just like, oh, here's a match, we just go throw it, spend money and just have it. So every match has like a flavor, a taste of Revolution Pro Wrestling in it. And so not only do I want people to be like, maybe this was the best show of the weekend, I also want people to be like, where's more of this? I want to see more of this. I want them to come to the next show at the 229. I want them to see when our next York Hall show is. This is, I think, more than anything, I want this to be an opportunity for RevPro to continue to grow with what we've created so far.
No, that's a really lofty goal, but I think that it's possible just because, like I said, these matches already announced have been absolutely excellent. Obviously, some New Japan talent are getting in the mix. I'm personally excited for that JJ Gale Kosei Fujita match. I think is going to be incredible. Like, there's just some really great stuff up and down the card. And I will say, like, RevPro hasn't missed this year on big shows. Like, the Revolution Rumble, the match itself was great, but the entire card was phenomenal. Epic Encounter was phenomenal. It's been some really great stuff coming out of RevPro this year. But you've had a very, very great year so far. Is there anything else that you would like to do? I'm not going to ask, like, what is the next 10 years going to look like? No, but like before the end of the year, is there anybody that you would like to face? Anything that you would like to do? Anywhere that you would like to go?
That's a very good question. So, okay, a goal I had. So I always was planning to be out in America for WrestleMania weekend. I was like, I'm going to go there for Mania weekend, and I know that people were interested in using me. But there's always that asterisk of WrestleMania weekend where so many wrestlers come into town, so many shows are coming to town. It's nearly impossible to get on at least one show. And I got on, technically 2, and then I stayed for an extra week to then do West Coast Pro in San Francisco, and then Defiant Seattle. But my goal was after that was to at least one more time come back to America away from Mania season, just to kind of just step my to again, we're talking about increasing my American footprint, so to speak. That's really what I want to do. So if there's a goal, it's to end up in a big promotion somewhere in America at least one more time by the end of this year. And then on top of that, I'm just thinking of like dream opponents. Oof. I don't know because you tell. Oof. Again, we talk about Chris Jericho. That's my dream opponent. But I wouldn't have thought I'm going to say that because I'd sound like an idiot. And then it happened. So, I mean, it was in a multi-person match. It was in like a 10-man tag match. I would love one day for that to be a singles. Why not? Why not it be a singles? You know, I'm on the cruise.
Showed up in PWG, anything can happen.
Exactly. He showed up PWG to wrestle and wrestled me. I'm on his Jericho cruise in 2014 January. My Januaries are pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean that, right? That's something that like I always hear nothing but the good things about the cruise, especially from wrestlers being like, it is an amazing time. You have the time, like you are looked after, you have fun, you can just relax. And never did I think I'd be I get an email. I didn't think I'd get an email and be like, no, okay, spam. Do I report as spam? And yeah, here it is. Like it's happening like the start of 2024. So like I've already got a great start to 2024 sorted out, which is amazing. But I'd love for like, yeah, by the end of this year, one more thing in America would be cool.
Okay. Any dream place, not promotion, but any like particular region, like place that you would like to wrestle that you haven't wrestled yet, venue, arena, place, like.
You're from Carolina, right? I'm guessing.
Yes, I'm South
Carolina. I believe. I think they mainly do mostly North Carolina, but yeah. I've always seen good things about Deadlock Pro.
Oh yes, yes, Deadlock Pro is very, very, very good. Yeah, they're mostly in North Carolina though, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's one that I've had my eyes on, and I'd like to, if that's a new part of America that I can touch and then see new kind of people, hear weird stories from different Uber drivers, then I'm gonna say, let me go to the Carolinas and let me go to Deadlock Pro and let me see what's going on there.
Carolinas, you're gonna get a wake up call, buddy. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just like there's Texas South and then there's Carolina South, and those are two completely different Souths, but at least the food is amazing. So that's what matters.
Then. There you go.
The food is fantastic. Have you wrestled in Chicago yet?
No, I haven't wrestled. Never been to Chicago, no.
Wow.
No.
Wow, you have a couple places to still knock off.
There's places.
And I think that you will. Like you've already like had such a hot start. WrestleMania next year is in Philadelphia. So if you come back next year, you'll get a real crash course in America.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that'll be the goal for sure. Philadelphia for Mania week for sure. Ooh, Philly.
I know, right? It's the 40th, so it's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
Did you get to go to Wallamania this year?
No, don't even. You made me upset because I was planning to. I was like, oh, should I go? Yeah, you will go. I was like, I think I went to watch another wrestling show. I was like, I might as well go down because I thought that like it will be happening until like the early hours of the morning. Make it there to the venue and it's finished. And people are walking out. I'm seeing Samoa Joe walk out. I'm like, no, what? And so I've only seen clips and I'm sad. So if I'm going to Mania week, my priority is Wale Mania and then to wrestle.
Period. That is on your bucket list. So that is
yes.
Got it. Wale Mania is it. That's the goal. So in closing, what is your hope for the legacy that you just want to leave? Like I think, and especially in this era, as a wrestler, as a British wrestler, as a Black wrestler, what is that imprint that you want people to remember when they see Michael Oku, whether it's at Copper Box, whether it's at 229, whether it's here in America, what do you want people to remember about you?
Oof. Quite simply that like I want them to think that I was one of the best. And that's a lofty statement starting off in my career because that was what that was what my goal was. But now I've reached this point where I've done so much and I've wrestled so many greats and had so many memorable matches that I want to be remembered as like, yeah, he was one of the best when he was going. There was very few better than him, and there was no one like him. I feel like it's very difficult to describe what in wrestling I'm best at. Um, I could argue that the telling a story throughout like a number of matches or within just one match or something I'm very strong at. But like just taking you on that ride really is how I'd put it best. And like if some people could say, man, if you go and watch Michael Oakley live, there was nothing like the feeling of when you watch him live and the emotions and the ride that he took you on was second to none. So that would kind of be what I'd hope my legacy would be.
Hey, I can agree with that. You definitely do take fans on a ride during your matches because I feel like I've had quite a few jump scares thanks to you. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining me today. This interview was so enlightening, and I'm excited for Copper Box. If you haven't got your tickets yet, if you plan on going that weekend, you need to get them. If not, subscribe to RevPro on demand. Yeah, it's going to be a great August, folks. I'm so excited. So thanks, everybody, and talk to you soon.